All right, well, welcome everyone to this Q&A. Again, want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. Question came up that we will deal with. And the question was about the Muslim movement starts. What are the origins of the Muslim movement? Why was it opposed? What are the drawbacks? Are there any drawbacks? What are the requirements? Why is it something appropriate? Why is it from Torah learning? Right. So a lot of questions here, right? Basically the same, all within the same topic. So just give a little bit of history. The mussar movement started really one of the first mussar books printed was the book of Rav Sajugon, a blessed memory, right? That eventually printed, and he was about the turn of the 5th century, 6th century, something like that. And he wrote a book called Book of Beliefs and Opinions. So basically, it's probably more famous for, that's really the book, sorry, Emunah V'Deos. That's what it's called in Hebrew. So the book on beliefs and opinions. So that was probably one of the first books that was printed about human nature. What we go through, why we go through things, how we're supposed to deal with things. Right? So then you get the start of the 19th century, and it was already considered by then a solitary practice. Who founded it in the 1800s was Yisrael Salanter. And why did he want people to learn mussar, or ethics as it is known? In order to strengthen their hearts, right? In order to understand we're lacking, right? We're lacking in things. We need to be better, right? We need pretty much to feel like a piece of dirt, to know what our obligations are, what we should be doing, etc. So one of his main disciples was Rav Simcha Zissel Ziv, later founded a yeshiva in Lithuania, and he was the head of the yeshiva in Kelm, to write a certain stream of mussar. And two other disciples were Rav Nathan Tzvi Finkel, known as the elder of Slobodka, and Rav Yosef Yuzel Horowitz of Novardok. Right, different ways of studying. Mussar, different schools of thought about learning mussar, and they, again, they had their own version of teaching. So basically, I would say most modern mussar today is taken from those three, either from Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, from Nathan Tzvi Finkel of Slobodka, and Rav Yosef Yuzel Horowitz of Novardok. Now, 20th century, you had great mussar giants, Rav Eli Lopian, Rav Dessler, Rav Eliyahu Dessler, and more modern times, Shlomo Volbe, blessed memory, Rav Brevda, blessed memory. So, so it sort of evolved. Again, it started in the time of Israel Salenter, right, in the 20th century, really, in the 19th century. And again, what was the point? Right? What was the point? The point was strengthen the heart, or the heart, as I would say. Right? In other words, understanding, right? The point of learning mussar is not to be broken by it. The point of learning mussar is to understand that I have limitations, to understand I've done things wrong, to understand that I got to repent, to understand how I'm supposed to look at the world. Right? These are crucial things to understand. What am I doing in this world? How am I supposed to function? right? So mussar, in a sense, puts us in our place in a realistic way, right? There's, mussar is not there to destroy someone. Mussar is there to help a person grow, to help a person understand what they're lacking, what they need to work on, right? You got many great mussar books today. Path of the Just by the Ramchal, by Moshe Chaim Mutato, blessed memory. You have Shari Tshuva, Gate to Repentance, by the Rabbi Yonah. You have, that's pretty intense because it goes through in the third gate about the severity of transgressions, right? Different levels of transgressions that a person can do, what it does to a person. You have another great work, The Ways of the Righteous, Orchos Tzaddik, right? There it's got different gates, gate of joy, gate of being, what do you call it? Gaiva, right? The gate of being conceited, right? Anger, whatever, a lot of different gates, a lot of, basically, the point is to understand we have to fix ourselves. We have to fix bad character traits. Rabbi Salanter said that's what we're in the world for, right? And he said, however, we should be able to change one for the better, right? Even one. But the goal is to understand we need to change, right? We need to work hard. We need to be better, right? Just like, we're living in a time now, we're in the 3 weeks. Next week starts the 9 days, getting close to the destruction of the temple. And the Gemara says, why was the temple destroyed? Sinas Chinam, unlawful hatred, right? Lashon hara, speaking badly against others, right? So the Gemara in Tainus says, anyone who lives and they don't, temple's not rebuilt, it's like you destroyed it. I gotta say, but I wasn't there. It doesn't matter, right? Learning mussar is the way to draw closer to God, to understand what our purpose is. But again, a person's not supposed to be broken by it, right? You learn certain things, you see it, you say, come on, by a certain level, in Path of the Just, person going to say, okay, there's no point in me going further because I can't get past his level, right? So again, it's not there to break you, per se, right? But he's telling you, this is the way you have to live. This is the way you have to think. This is the way how you fix up bad character traits, right? But it's hard, right? It's hard work. So that's the point. The Netziv of television after Chaim Volozhin, who was a famous student of the Vilna Gaon, of Elijah Vilna, blessed memory. So he shared the mantle of taking care of the yeshiva, being head of the yeshiva with Chaim Brisker, right? They were, I guess, co-rosh yeshivas. So Chaim Brisker said that they didn't have a formal, we'll speak about having a formal mussar state in yeshiva, right? Having a formal set time, even yeshiva, to learn mussar. But they didn't have, in Volozhin, which is the mother of all yeshivas, that's, the yeshiva system is from that yeshiva, that the way we learn today is passed down from how they learned in Volozhin. And basically, they didn't have a mussar state. They didn't have 20 minutes, half an hour time slot to learn mussar, right? So they asked the Netziv. They asked the Netziv, why isn't there a mussar seder? Right? Now, I don't remember, one second. So they asked Rabbi Chaim Brisker, why isn't there, a set time for mussar? To learn mussar in the yeshiva. So Chaim Brisker said, if you're at the prayers in the morning, in the paragraph right before the saying of the Shema, Avarabba, we should have great love for God, right? Right? You should teach, you should learn, keep Torah, whatever. Very powerful paragraph before the Shema. So he said, if you see how the Netziv says the Shema, and if he didn't have proper intention when he said it, he wouldn't give class that day. So he said, if you saw the Netziv and how he gave mussar, or let's say better, not how he gave mussar, but essentially how we said that paragraph before the Shema, you don't need to learn mussar. Right? No obligation to learn mussar. All you have to do is watch him. See how he says the words. Right? So part of the question was, I get to it here. And that is, okay, why was it opposed to? Wasn't necessarily opposed. What was opposed at the beginning was Hasidus. Big difference. Yeah, why was the Vilna Gaon opposed to Hasidus? So it's written in the Nefesh Chaim, right? Nefesh Chaim, famous work by student of the Vilna Gaon of Chaim of Volozhin. Most people learn in the fourth gate because all the other gates are steeped in Kabbalah. But he says in the fourth gate about the power of learning Torah. And he made a very strong jab against Hasidus. Now, why did he come out against Hasidus? Hasidus was a new thing, right, back in that time. But he came out against it, he wouldn't come out against it today for what it evolved into. But he came out against it then. Why? Came out against it because he said you could go to, different cities where there are Hasidim, and you're lucky if there's one Gemara in there. If there's a whole set of Gemara there. Because they spend most of the day learning mussar, learning ethics. That's what he came out against. And he came out against learning ethics in general. But you're not spending most of your day learning it. You want to spend some time, okay. Right? We'll see why it shouldn't be part of the yeshiva curriculum in general. Right? Or at least at the end of the day. Because what's the most important thing in yeshiva today for guys? To learn Gemara. Rishonim, Achronim, early commentators, later commentators. Jewish law, halacha. Right. A person could say, what about Jewish philosophy? Isn't that important? Yeah, in your own time. Jewish philosophy goes in the same category here. What about Tanakh? Can't you learn a lot from Tanakh? Sure. Or Chumash on your own time. But isn't Chumash the base of all Gemara? Right? The Talmud's a commentary on Chumash, on the Torah. So how Gam is only, maybe someone will speak, about something on the Parsha, but you're not learning for an hour during when the yeshiva is learning. Why? Right? It's a good question. Very good question. Because if it's the base of everything we do, maybe you should focus more on Chumash. So there's a certain sheet, there's a certain school of thought, a little more extreme. But what they do is they have their kids and they teach them Chumash. And they teach them more Chumash and more Chumash. They don't start learning Gemara until later than everybody else. They want them to master Chumash first. Right? Again, it's one way of thought. It's not the way the majority of schools teach. They'll teach Chumash also. But they're going to learn Gemara at a younger age. They're going to start already 10, 11 years old learning Gemara. By this other school of thought, they start learning it later, 13, 14. They want them to master Chumash and Tanakh. Now, why? Again, what's the most important thing here? Right? So pseudo-Karaites will say learning Torah. Everything's based on Torah, isn't it? Yes. Everything's based on Torah. Very good. But to get to the depth of what the Torah says, you got to learn Gemara. Right? For guys, you got to learn Gemara. That's the most important thing. That's coming to explain what the Torah means. Because spending it, even if you spend an hour, let's say, you would spend an hour, 45 minutes. What's so bad? What's so bad is taken away from learning Gemara. So therefore, most mainstream yeshivas are not going to have, just about all yeshivas, right? Unless they're, for returning to Judaism or whatever, they'll teach other things that other yeshivas won't teach because they need to, get that information. You need the meat and potatoes. The meat and potatoes is learning Gemara. Is deriving from where the Torah gets it. And what it means. Let's say better. What it means. So therefore, it's all part of the curriculum. Yeah, you want to learn it, you want to learn depth. Very good, on your own time. Not at the expense of learning what the base is. And you think, learning Torah is the base. That's the base. True. But even if you learn it with the commentaries, you're still not going to know what to do. The commentaries will explain certain things, but they're not giving you the meat and potatoes of, okay, it applies like this, doesn't apply like that. They're not going in that direction according to Jewish law. That they're not doing. So, where are you going to get the depth of knowledge of what to do? And what blessing to make and where and how and this and that? Where are you going to get it from? Gemara? That's where you're going to get it from. That's where it's all brought down. Right? So the question is, why was it opposed? Now, it wasn't opposed. What was opposed at the beginning is Hasidus. Why was Hasidus opposed? Because that's all they learned. Day in and day out, majority of the day, what they learned? Mussar. So yeah, what's wrong with that? There's what to be said for that, okay. I'm not going to say not, but that's not the essence. The essence of I have to know what to do. Practically speaking, how to keep Shabbos, how to keep kosher, how to do other things. Mussar, again, what is it doing? It's changing who the person is. No, we say derech eretz kimu Torah. Right? Derech eretz meaning proper character traits, proper midos. Doesn't that come before Torah? Sure. And if someone learns Torah and they do things wrong and they're obnoxious and this and that, so what's their Torah worth? They have to have good qualities, good character traits. Doesn't mean they're perfect. They need to have good qualities, right? Good character traits. They don't have good character traits. What's the point of learning Torah for them? It's just like mental gymnastics. I don't have to apply it, right? So they weren't opposed to it. They were opposed to people learning it all day and not knowing the basics of what to do and how to run a kosher home. That's a big difference. Huge difference. So they're not going to, it's not going to take up most of your day. The person will say, maybe it should. If the temple was destroyed by sinas chinam, lashon hara, by speaking badly against others and unlawful hatred, maybe we're just busy working our character traits all the time, learn mussar, for hours on end, and then learn this other stuff also. Maybe that's more important. Character traits are important, no question. But you're not going to get to a level of understanding of what Torah is if you don't learn Gemara from it. For guys, this applies to guys, not to women. Women have to know what to do practically. They have other responsibilities, right? They also have to work on their character traits. Also true, right? But the question is, it wasn't opposed. Essentially, it wasn't opposed. What was opposed that if you do it all day, that's what it was opposed to. Now, are there any drawbacks of learning it? No. The only thing I would say is a person should take it to heart what they learn, but they shouldn't take it so to heart that they're broken by it. Because people will say, you go through Gate to Repentance by Rabbi Yonah, it's pretty harsh. Right? You go to the third gate, the level of punishments and things, and it's harsh. But it's good to know. But a person has to realize, okay, I'm human, I make mistakes, but this is pretty severe. You're right. There are a lot of things that are very severe. Says Rabbi Yonah, mention one thing. Let's say a person didn't put on tefillin today. A guy didn't put on tefillin. Didn't eat matzah, positive command. There's Rabbi Yonah over there. There's no positive command that's not related or dependent on resurrection of the dead. You say, okay, I'm not talking about a person who was under onus and they didn't have a choice and they couldn't put on tefillin, right? Or they were sick or whatever. They didn't put on tefillin. They were lazy. They didn't eat matzah. They were lazy, whatever. As Rabbi Yonah, it's so severe. Even a positive command, you might think, okay, I have to put on tefillin. Good. You can say, okay, so you didn't do it or didn't do this, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, he says, any positive command is dependent on resurrection of the dead. Well, that's pretty severe, isn't it? Person can be broken by, I didn't put on tefillin today. I'm not going to get up at resurrection of the dead, even if I repent. Or people would say, I learned mussar, I learned these things. I see how inadequate I am. I see the mistakes I make, this, that, over and over and over again. What's the point of me doing mitzvahs? What's the point? God's not going to accept my repentance. Not true. Right? That's what the evil inclination wants. The Yitzhar will tell you, say you made this mistake. Say you did it again. Say you did it a third time. God's never going to forgive you. Or if I've heard people say, you get to a certain level of hell, you'll never get out. Right? If you desecrated Shabbos, let's say, that could break people. It's good to know. Not going to say not if it motivates the person, very good. Person has to know the severity of what they do, not disagree. Yeah, you have to know the severity within reason. It's not supposed to break you. It's supposed to make you realize you got a long way to go. I got to work hard. You got to change. Well, it doesn't mean God's never going to accept whatever, your repentance. Yeah. So, that I would say is one drawback. If you learn it, you take it to heart, that's good. That means you're holding somewhere in the world. You want to change. You want to be better. Good. But it doesn't mean you can't function. It doesn't mean a person should take it so to heart that you're not going to do mitzvahs anymore. That's self-defeating. That's all God wants. He wants you to be better. He wants you to repent. Very good. But isn't it true? Someone will say, but I don't get out of this level of hell with this and that. There's repentance. A person has the ability to repent. If you live in the past, my Rabbi would say you have no future. You did something wrong, move on. You didn't pray so well today, move on. Work on it. Don't get broken by it. But how could I not be broken? I just sinned against, it's a rebellion against my Father in heaven. True, that's what any sin is. But you got to cut yourself a little bit of slack. You got to be honest, though. You got to work at it. You got to say, I live in the past, I have no future. Big deal. No, you got to work at it. These aren't easy things. Are there any requirements to begin learning it? No. You just start. Right? A good place to start, I would recommend the Ramchal's book, The Path of the Just. Yeah, that's a good place to start. Why is it a sin separate from learning Torah? Because the most important thing about learning Torah is knowing what to do. You have to have good character traits. Also true. But in this case, if you're going to weigh it, what's more important? Knowing what to do. Doesn't mean you shouldn't have good character traits. And it doesn't mean you shouldn't learn it. But it's not going to be part of the yeshiva curriculum. Or, let's say better, in a lot of places, they do have it as part of the curriculum. It's at the end of the day, right? The end of the afternoon for like a half an hour. It's not going to be something integral part of Shiva curriculum, for the reasons I gave. It's not going to. Even if someone says, come on, you know, Derech keep the Torah, we said. Doesn't proper character traits come before Torah? Yes. And if a person would say, well, I got to work on this or work on that, very good. What's going to be the problem? Person's going to say, it's going to take me this long to work on it, that long, this and that. You never learn Torah. You spend your whole life working on character development, which you should. Nobody's saying you shouldn't do it. The question is, how much time? Because if you spend your whole life working on it day in and day out, how much real Torah are you going to learn? How much Gemara are you going to cover? How much you really going to know? Not much. So it can't be an integral part. But at the same time, if you don't have proper character traits, then your Torah is worth nothing. One of my rabbis told me, learned under somebody for a few weeks. Only lasted a few weeks. What was the reason? Because he said this person was a rabbinic genius, was an absolute genius, but his character traits were so bad, couldn't learn under him. Right? So what's the $1 million question? How can you learn Torah, learn a lot of Torah, if your character traits are bad? Now, again, it doesn't mean you're perfect. We're not saying that. But if a person's got really bad character traits, how can a person learn Torah from them? Because, as we said in the paragraph before the Shmats, what do we say? You got to learn Torah, teach Torah. Yeah, you're going to guard Torah, you're going to keep it. And you're going to do it. The whole point of Torah is to put it inside of you. The whole point of Torah is to act in the proper way, the way the Torah wants. Doesn't mean you're perfect. We're not saying anybody's perfect here. But if a person has really bad character traits, in general, right, we have to be like malachim. We have to be like angels. The Torah we learn should transform us, should make us better people, for sure. And if it makes us disgusting people and people cheat and do this and do that, then Torah they learn it's worth nothing. It's worth nothing. Yeah. So that's what I would say. That's what I would say about the Muslim movement in general. So again, is it a good thing for a person to learn on a daily basis? Yes. Should they be learning it all day? No. You want to learn it for half an hour, 45 minutes? Good. But let's say a person only has a certain amount of time to learn. Yeah, what should they learn? Right? So you should learn Jewish law. You practically know what to do, how to keep the laws of Shabbos, how to make blessings. Right? How to do practical things. Should learn Chumash, should learn the Torah portion of the week. Should learn Tanakh, should learn mussar. Right? Well, you only have a limited amount of time. Someone getting a Rabbi Israel Salanter, blessed memory, asked him, what should I learn? I only have a certain amount of time to learn. What should I learn? So he told him mussar. Should learn ethics. The student asked him, what do you mean? Why did you tell him to learn Gemara, Halacha, Jewish law? Why ethics? So Rabbi Israel Salanter said, once they learn ethics, once they learn mussar, they'll understand they have a lot more time on their hands than they think. And therefore, they're going to be able to learn more. They'll figure out, they're wasting time. They should be wasting time. All these different things. They'll see they have more time than they thought. So then they'll be able to learn other things as well. But it is crucial. You need proper character traits. And we're held to a higher standard. Right? I'll give you an example. Ramosha Schneider, my Rebbe's Rebbe, would say to his students, if you don't get up on time to pray, don't go to a later minyan. Don't pray, in a different place, right? Pray by yourself. Why? Because the townspeople will say, oh, it's good enough for this yeshiva student to get up late and pray, so I can also get up late and pray. What about Tefillah B'tzibur? What about praying with the minyan? It's an important thing, rabbinic, but it's an important thing. Yeah. So Moshe Snyder said, no, this is more important. More important to give off proper character development, that other people shouldn't learn from your bad ways. That's one aspect. Rashi says, the end of Yuma, the end of Tractate Yuma, that's what a desecration of God's name is. Now, desecration of God's name has a specific thing in front of 10 Jews, very good. But Rashi over there says, what's desecration of God's name? Someone's going to see what you do and learn from your bad character traits. That's desecration of God's name. Yeah. So it says Moshe Schneider, very good. Very good. That's a problem. So therefore, if a yeshiva student gets up late, instead of praying somewhere else, you don't want the townspeople to say, oh, look, if he can get up late and pray, he can also get up late and pray. Got to be exemplary here. You don't want people to learn from bad character traits. No matter why a person got up late, it's relevant. But you're going to give off the wrong impression. They're going to say, well, it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. But he didn't have that intention. He certainly didn't have that intention. But that's what it does. It can make a bad impression. It can make a bad impression on others. Right? So even, let's say, you got another week, a week and a half before intercession in yeshiva. Some people maybe take it a little bit easier. Because, it's summertime, you're going to have a break, 2 weeks, is that. So take it a little bit easy. But that makes a weakness in everybody else. Why? Because you sit around, you're talking, you're schmoozing more. It's like you got a week to go, you got a few days to go. That can have a negative effect on others. They'll say, well, if he can do it, I can also do it. Got to lead by example. See, the question never is, after 120 years, the question's never going to be, why were you like this person? Why were you like that person? No one stole me. An Orthodox Jew stole, committed fraud, whatever it was. Says, I don't do that. And they're supposed to keep Torah mitzvahs, so I don't have to keep Torah mitzvahs. Well, that's the wrong conclusion, obviously. Because God's never going to ask you, why weren't you like them? God's going to take care of that person. Right? Make no mistake. Whatever the person did, they're going to pay a price. 100% they're going to pay a price. God's not going to ask you, why weren't you like them? And because they did that, you're exempt. God's not going to ask that. He'll say, I'll take care of business. Don't worry about them. I'll take care of them. God's going to ask, why didn't you do what you were supposed to do? Right? That's called pass the buck. We're not into pass the buck. That's for the Christian. Right? For that, that's very easy. Believe in JC, died for your sins, don't have to do anything else. Very good. For Jews, it's about responsibility. Your own responsibility, collective responsibility. Because you never see anywhere else, an non-Jew in Brooklyn, an Italian in Brooklyn did something egregious, did something wrong. People are going to say, let's burn down Brooklyn. Oh, sorry, burn down Italy. No more cannolis. It's over. No one's ever going to say that. Oh, a Jew does something wrong. Maybe. Yeah, let's say they did something wrong. Doesn't even have to be egregious. All Jewish people get blamed. And people are going to start screaming from the river to the sea because we're committing genocide in Gaza. Insanity. Right? I'm not going into politics, but that's insanity. We're held to a different standard. So if someone sees an Orthodox Jew in line and they push and they shove and they do other things that they shouldn't do, or they drive like maniacs, gives us a bad name. Right? That's a desecration of God's name, not according to the literal definition. Because they say, look at this Orthodox Jew, look what he does. Look how we drive. Now, other people could do that. Other people could do that, and no one's going to care. They'll say, oh, scream and yell, this and that, but nothing like this. I remember, back in the day, COVID. I remember COVID. Yeah. People saying about, Orthodox Jews and spreading it and different things. What about people who had these Corona parties, right? These COVID parties. They didn't care. Anyone chastise them? I mean, some people did. Did anyone really come out and say what a horrific thing? You're going to be ashamed of yourself? No. You know, you Orthodox Jews are spreading it. You don't care about hygiene. You don't care about, wearing masks while they working on or social distancing or this and that. People don't, people make all these statements. They understand demographics. A Jewish community, an Orthodox community is very heavily populated. Where did most people at the beginning, and again, I'm not going to go into, all kinds of conspiracy theories about COVID and this and that. Where did most people get COVID from? People say, see, they went to synagogue, they should have shut them down and they didn't social distance, and that's where they got it from. That's not where they got it from. That's not where the majority of Jews got it from. All you need is one person in your family to catch it, and everyone caught it, or most people caught it. It wasn't because they were in synagogue. True, people that were there, okay. It's on the list, of how people got it, but it wasn't in the top 5. I don't think it was in the top 5. But the main reason they got it because they live in, in different areas, in certain areas, and they're heavily populated. So if one person gets it, a lot of people get it. You're gonna say, "Oh, they shouldn't live like that." Doesn't matter. That's the point. The question is social distancing, not social distancing. Plenty of people didn't do it. There were plenty of people didn't wear masks and didn't social distance. Okay, they didn't. They didn't believe in it. Whatever it is. But a lot of people did. But even if that's the case, doesn't matter. All you need is some people not to listen, right? To spread it more. But again, where is the majority of time it's being spread? In their own house. That's where it's being spread majority of the time. So people can say whatever they want. That's the reality. That totally is the reality. So something like that, what everybody's doing, and everyone was scared, and now they're finally coming to the realization it was actually produced in a lab. And everyone laughed at that, and come on, conspiracy theory, this, that. That's now they're admitting. But at the end of the day, what did Corona do? It made the medical establishment look really stupid. That's the bottom line. That is the bottom line. They know how to deal with it. Whether you want to tell me the numbers are skewed, not skewed, doesn't matter. Right? That's the bottom line. So, I had people tell me, so, well, I hope you're doing this. I hope your community. I said, I'm doing what I need to do. What other people do, okay. I remember I was on a bus. And they were, they had whatever people coming in, different stops checking, make sure people wearing masks, on the bus. So one guy, whatever she was doing, whatever, fell asleep, was dozing, whatever, put his mask down, whatever, and now getting chastised up the kazoo. I think I mentioned this back in the day, right? He's getting chastised like no tomorrow. And this person says chutzpah. Person says, you know how many people are dying? You want to help spread the disease? You want to see how many people are dying? Normally, it would have his mask on. Okay. I wanted to say, you know what danger you put the Jewish people in because you don't keep Shabbos? And all the Lashon Hara you speak? Is that worse than Corona? Probably. Is that worse than COVID? Probably. But why do you single out this kid? Again, he should have had his mask on when he slept. Very good. When he fell asleep. Good. Isn't it chastising him? Don't you want the disease to end? Don't you know people are dying? No, I don't know. Never been educated. Never saw such a thing. Never heard about it. What are you talking about? Make it feel like a piece of dirt. Yeah. Use the Hebrew language to curse. Use the Hebrew language to speak Lashon Hara. You act like an animal on a daily basis. What are you telling this kid about putting a mask on? Yeah, I didn't feel like calling my wife from the police station for starting up with the police. But that was, that was the first thing on my mind. I saw that going on. So you could say, that kid makes desecration of God's name. They didn't do it on purpose. For sure, didn't do it on purpose. But at the end of the day, even if you want to say, well, maybe he did because he didn't want to wear it or whatever. Okay. Yeah. Whatever it is. Even if that was the case, he gets isolated and picked apart because it is an Orthodox Jew. Now, if he was a secular Jew, would he have gone that far? I don't know. Probably not. Probably yelled and screamed at him, whatever, but like, wouldn't give the third degree. Well, you want people to die? You're not careful? Don't do it, God-fearing person would have said that. Right? Probably would have chastised them all, not in the same way. What's the difference? What's the difference? Because he looks like an Orthodox Jew. He's taking a test because an Orthodox Jew. So we have a greater responsibility, for better or for worse. Greater responsibility. So even though, and we mentioned this many times, even though people talk about desecration of God's name, there's a specific definition. But again, Rashi over there in Yuma says, if someone learns from your bad behavior, that's a desecration of God's name. And it could, and again, depending on the person. For one person, it wouldn't be a desecration of God's name. For this person, it is. Depends where they're holding in the world. Yeah, someone asked before, I want to get to this question. Can a person move to another house in the days of Tammuz? Right? Meaning the 3 weeks. In the 3 weeks, they can. Probably not a good thing to do. Not a great thing to do. If you can push it off, it's better to push it off, I would say. But I would say that, if they can't move then, if that's the only time they can move, then yeah. Then it's certainly better to move then than during the 9 days. During the 9 days starting next week, right? Sunday night, I think. Start of the 9 days, that would be forbidden. During the 3 weeks, you're allowed to, right? It's probably better not to, but you're allowed to. During the 9 days, it would be forbidden. Somebody asks, that's what I would say on that. Somebody asks, Numbers 32:5. What was the negotiation? What was the negotiation of the children of the tribe of Gad and Reuben trying to make with Moses? Were they trying to stay in the land? Or the livestock? Oh, good question. Good question. Yeah. So what's going on over here? What's going on? Yeah, what did they say? Essentially, they said that we're going to build fences, enclosures for our cattle. And he says, build cities. He says, Moses basically says, okay, owning cattle is good, right? Owning cattle is good, but they're more important things. So what happened to values? What are they? Where are the values over here? So when Torah speaks about city of refuge, right? Person killed by accident, killed someone by accident, they run to a city of refuge. Where were they built? In Israel, right? Another three were built in territory across the Jordan. Who were settled in the place across the Jordan? Reuven, Gad, Menashe. It comes on Rashi. Rashi says, but there's disproportion to the relative population. Why would 2.5 tribes require the same number of cities of refuge? It's 9.5. Rashi says. A little bit strange. Yeah. Now, there's also a disproportionate amount of bloodshed as well. That what was going on? Some sort of moral breakdown. Right? But obviously something in education was also wrong. Right? Why do you have so many people going to these places? Right? How can so many people kill by accidents? Doesn't really make a lot of sense. Not only that, looks like they're favoring possessions over children. Yeah, when they come back from the years of conquest, you have an entire generation raised on the benefit of fathers. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Right? So it's talking about people, not necessarily cattle. Right? So here we see, you have to go back. You have to go back when what happened to Joseph. Right? Reuven tries to save Joseph. And the motivation, I don't really see the motivation here. Only when he sold these, right? Because Torah says, he ripped his clothing in grief, returned to his brother and said, where can I go? What's going on? How can I function? Where is he? Yeah. So he felt also maybe he's going to pay a price, right? He's got responsibility, right? Over here. So now you go further in the story, right? It gets a little more complicated. That the Egyptian, demands to see Benjamin before providing more food, i.e., Joseph himself. The Reuven says, his own son, this is also hard to understand. His own son should be killed if he doesn't return Binyamin back to Yaakov. Why would even Yaakov agree to such a thing? He says that Benjamin goes, he's a Ben Skunim, he's my youngest son, from Rachel. What's it gonna help? If you don't bring him back, I'm gonna kill your two sons. But also very hard to understand. So obviously, Jacob rejects it. But again, what's the effects on these kids? Knowing, they heard the father say it. They listen, if I don't bring him back, I'll kill these kids. Imagine that was your father said that. You're gonna like, what are you talking about? You're gonna kill me if you don't bring him back? Try and find another father, right? Or another father figure. That hard to what's the motivation here? Right? What did he stand to lose? Firstborn. That's a pretty big thing. Double portion. So he makes an offer, a gamble to win that double portion back, even to the extent plays his own children on the table. Right? It was like markets, right? Use them as markets like you're playing poker. Now, you say, well, maybe that's not the case, right? Whether it is or not, it doesn't really matter. Right? Nonetheless, what do you see from his descendants? What do you see from the tribe of Reuven? They prioritize in a similar fashion. What's that? Possessions before children. Now, God's also a firstborn, but from a different mother. And he identifies him. That's why we have selection of Menashe, the third tribe. Why? Because descendants of, where does Menashe come from? From Yosef. Where did he grow up? Foreign environment. So he, Yosef is like, very righteous in a place of taking values. But Menashe is the firstborn, also of his mother, but Menashe was also displaced. Right? The younger was more successful. Right? As the Torah says. So you have these three united. It's kind of a negative way, you see it. Right? They're losing their rights associated with being what? The older brother. So maybe they're saying, okay, we're really going to lose out. So they want to stay outside the land, which would have been more theirs than anyone else's. Okay. Right? So maybe you can look at it that way. Right? Or look at it a little different way. Because the Torah says, Moses entered the portion of children of God, children of Reuven, and he's excited because he sees my vow to God regarding Moses has been lifted. Why? Because he struck the rock. Moses understands he can't enter the land, right, without going into all that. But that was the will of God. That's what he said. But even so, could God break his own vow? Yeah. So really, the portion of God of Reuven is not part of the land, Well, one day it would be, right? Jordan's going to be part of Israel one day, greater Israel. So they want to stay on the east side. Moses permitted them to enter. So their status, their portion is the same as the rest of the land, essentially. Now you see, first of all, Moses teaches the laws, teaches about oaths, right? That's the beginning of the parsha. Teaches about oaths. Oaths can be challenged and rescinded. Once the tribe of Reuben got to hear this, they devised a plan. If the vow, is going to preclude Moses coming into the land, let's say that could be reversed. Moses comes in. Well, if that could be reversed, then the fact that they lost out on their firstborn, the double portion, could also be reversed. Moses himself, no, continues his mission. What's his last task? Going against Midian. Right? And God says you're going to die after you take care of Midian. What does Moses say? First thing he says, let's go and fight Midian. He could have delayed, could have lived longer. No, this is God's will. That's it. Let's go get him. Right? He could have lived a lot of years because he knows he's going to die straight away. So Moses himself says he's going to remain in that portion. Why? Right? It's like entering the land. Oh, God says you can't enter the land. That's the problem. Because if he stays alive, remains in Jordan, right? Who's going to go to Israel when they could be with Moses? Right? That's a good question. In other words, if you had an opportunity to spend the holidays with the master himself, i.e. Moses himself, who's going to want to go to Israel? Yeah. So he can't retire, can't slip out of the public eye, so to speak. Right? That would probably destroy the Torah in other ways. So therefore, he carries out God's order. But his approach is different. He's not thinking to harm integrity of the Torah or the Jewish people. But what are Reuven and God doing? Essentially, they're arguing for possessions against the will of their kids. Right now, that's Maisa Avos Simin Labani. The actions of our forefathers and our fathers have an effect on the kids. What did you see before? We saw by Reuben himself. What did he intimate? He intimated that children can be expendable. I'll kill two of my kids if I don't bring Binyamin back. Yeah. That had an effect on his descendants later. Right? The love of money. Right? The result of parents letting the children know they're not the most valued possession. That was a disaster for these tribes. Because what do children learn? They learn from the parents. For better or for worse, they learn from parents. Therefore, these banks of the Jordan is a place of violence and bloodshed. Children of the tribes first to be exiled. That's connection. One that again that could be an explanation for that. Yeah. Any other questions here? Someone here says I prefer Buddha. Okay. Who came alive in the beginning when the flood of Noah came? The only person that was alive, right, was Noah and his kids. He's the only ones that saved them. Let's say better. The only ones that were saved from the flood were Noah and his kids, because Rashi says Noah is building an ark for 120 years. People say, hey, Noah, what are you doing? I'm building an ark. Why are you building an ark? It's going to be a flood. They look up. San Diego weather, 75 and sunny all year round. They're like, yeah, good luck. They made fun of him, chastised him, this, that. So, okay, you'll die. Right? So one of the reasons he had to run around feeding all the animals is because he didn't do chesed with his generation. Right? Like Abraham did. Abraham tried to bring as many people back as he could. Try and stop them from idolatry. Very good. Right? He didn't do that. If he would have been a kiruv professional doing outreach, right, as a professional, they would have fired him. They said, okay, how many people did you make religious today? Nobody. For 120 years? It's like, okay, he'll die. That's a knock against it. I mean, you have to understand who these people are, but it's a knock against it. To the extent where the prophet says it's called the floods of Noah. What do you mean the floods of Noah? He was righteous. His kids were righteous. They were able to be saved. Right? Problem is, he didn't bring anyone around to save. You could say, oh, they wouldn't have listened, they wouldn't have. He didn't do it. They didn't show proper chesed. Yeah. So seemingly, you had, you know, you had people that were taken early. Methuselah was taken early. Right? He lived the longest time, 969 years. He was taken early. Yeah. So we didn't have to experience all that. Right? Enosh was taken early. Right? He was taken early. But everyone else got wiped out. Right? Who else was alive at that time? Anyone who was alive didn't make it. The only humans that made it, right, seemingly were Noach's family. Right? And then eventually you got those generations, right? And then eventually to get to Abraham. Right? The pillar of the moon, pillar of belief. Right? So Adam wasn't alive when the flood happened. No, I don't think so. Definitely not. Someone asked, how did Rashi study Tanakh? There's no Rashi comments. Very good. Right? So he had everything in front of him. Yeah, they understand. He knew all the Gemara. He knew all the Midrash. Right? Right? So, that's how you have to learn Tanakh. Tanakh is a very hard thing to learn. That's why, in schools, kids are taught at a very young age. They don't go into detail because there are things in Tanakh that seem to contradict the Torah. Right? That's why they don't teach them. Right? Unless you have someone that's got real Yirah Shamayim, real fear of heaven, but, there are deep things going on in Tanakh. A lot of deep things. If you learn the Malbi and the Barbanel, the Radak, these great commentaries to see what's really going on. It's very rich. Very, very rich. Started learning years ago. Tanakh. I'm still in Isaiah, right? Still towards whatever, 8 chapter, 9 chapter, whatever of Isaiah. But we wouldn't be able to learn without any commentary. But Rashi had everything in front of him. Right? So he was able to learn without his own, he made his own commentary. But if a person has that level of knowing what the rabbis say, yeah, so therefore he's got all that information, and he picks and chooses what information he thinks is right or not right, or explaining his explanation. But he was able to learn without any commentary. Yeah, what about the great rabbis? Also learn without commentary, without any commentary. So, they had whole discussions. What did it mean like this? Mean like that? Mean like the other thing? Very good. Yeah. So they had discussions what, things meant, and eventually it was codified. Right? Eventually it was codified and, put together in the Mishnah and the Gemara, etc. But, learning Tanakh is no different, in that sense. Because, you have to understand, Rashi's only in the year 1000. Right? So he's the time after the Gaonim. Right? It's time after the Gaonim. So you got hundreds of years before, 1,000 years before at least. Right? So there's still a lot of traditions out there about what was going on and what the verses meant and what the prophets were saying. Right? So how was he able to learn it? It's a good question, but he was able to put it together and understand the whole picture of what's going on. I mean, if you learn Rashi, some of the other commentators, it's a mind-boggling thing to look at the Christians, how they totally misinterpret and demolish what the explanation of Tanakh is, because they don't have an oral commentary. Right? They have no idea, what's going on. They say, oh, this relates to this relates to that. If you don't have, Rashi out there telling you like what this represents or what's going on, you're lost. Because sometimes, the prophet goes in a different direction and you don't know what he's talking about or what he's relating to. They're going to say, oh, it relates to JC, oh, it relates to this, but it doesn't. Because they take everything out of context. But Rashi himself was able to put everything together, right, and understand the bigger picture based on oral law, right? That's the only way, right? But that's how he was able to do it. Yeah. Any other questions? Somebody asks, According to the laws of Torah, if someone intentionally killed, intentionally killed, they be put to death. The every captured terrorist who was confirmed to have killed, again, we don't have a Sanhedrin, right? We don't have a Jewish Supreme Court, right? And intentionally killed, killing someone. First of all, you gotta have witnesses. That's their intention, right? That to warn them about it. I mean, there are a lot of things that have to go on before you can actually kill them. But you're right, in general, if they intentionally kill, you can kill them. You can't do that today. First of all, it goes against the law of the land. You don't have a Sanhedrin anyway, right? You don't have a temple in Jerusalem. In any case, the Mishnah Makos at the end of the first chapter says any, if the Sanhedrin killed somebody once in 7 years or once in 70 years, it was considered a bloody court. They went out of their way not to kill people. You're gonna say, but the person was guilty, this and that. Yeah, but there's a lot of things, a lot of steps that have to be taken in order to do that. Now, terrorists today, you can say, yeah, that's their intention. Okay. Right? Now, according to Noahide laws, you're not allowed to murder. Right? So that's death penalty. Kill them straight away, but you can't do that. You get the law of the land. Right? Law of the land. Right? So you're going to say, better to kill them than, have a death penalty than put them in Israeli prison. What do you think would happen if Israel did that? There'd be an uproar here. Death penalty? Plenty of places don't have death penalty. They let them rot, in prison. These maggots, these terrorists, right? They're living the life of Riley in jail. They have plenty of things in jail. Yeah, they can take courses, they get degrees, this and that. Their goal, there's a video out that head of Hamas was killed, and they put out a video of him praising, and watching the destruction of what Hamas did on October 7th. Yeah, he ain't sitting in a pretty place right now. Guaranteed. But nonetheless, put these people in prison. You're right. They should have rights in prison. Should shackle them up, let them starve to death. Right? They got to be humane though. You can have witnesses, got to warn them. I mean, there are a lot of things. You can't just kill them. There are a lot of things, right? A non-Jew in general, that'd be the death penalty. They kill someone, yeah. You're the judge, you're the jury. You saw him kill someone. They had intention. You don't have to warn them. Non-Jew, you don't have to warn. You kill him. Blow his head off. After the fact. Blow his head off. Can't do it before because they can kill him. Right? But you're right. There was a 18, 19-year-old kid went to jail for, 6 months. Had him in detention for 6 months as a terrorist and is basically neutralized. He thought he was going for a gun or for a knife or whatever. He shot him. Killed him. Yeah. Now, story came out, he didn't have a knife on him. But it looked like he was trying to do something, so he killed him. Eventually he got out, but it's kind of crazy. Right? Right? This is the whole question I don't want to get into, but this is the whole question. If he's down, he's not out, you allowed to kill him? You're not allowed to kill him. You're not allowed to kill him. Right? That's the law. You can't kill him. So, according to Jewish law, even if you saw him, you saw what he did. There are certain things that have to be done beforehand before you even could do it. Right? But again, if he's a non-Jew, right, in this case, so that I'm talking about a Jew. If he's a non-Jew, you saw him kill, it doesn't matter. You kill him straight away. If you knew you wouldn't get killed, right, or you wouldn't get caught, let's say better, according to the letter of the law, the law of the land, then it'll be okay. Right? That's why you can't do it. You can't be a vigilante over here. People take Pinchas and say, oh, see, look what he did. He shish kebabbed. He killed, Zimri in Cosby Batsur. Yeah. But people don't realize, I have, a video on this on Parshas Pinchas. Go to my YouTube channel at Beyond Orthodox Version Judaism. Right? What did Pinchas do before he did it? He went to ask Moshe Rabbeinu, what's the halacha in such a case? Moshe Rabbeinu forgot, he remembered, and he killed him. He didn't do it as a vigilante to be a vigilante. He didn't do it without Das Torah. right? Without asking a rabbi what to do, right? He didn't do that. That's a vigilante. But he went and he asked, what's the halacha? That's a different thing. That's not a vigilante. Yeah. So technically, a non-Jew, if you saw him do it, right? You're 100% right. If you saw him do it, you saw him you kill him. You don't have to warn them, right? That's by a Jew. You don't have to warn them. You can kill them straight away. 100%. As long as you know you won't get caught. Learner meant they should put them to death. Yeah, I would do more than that. Depending on what they did, measure for measure. Measure for measure. But measure for measure doesn't work here, right? An eye for an eye. We don't, that's not what the Torah means. It means that you're gonna have to pay damages, right? But you can't do that, and you can't take revenge, right? You can't take revenge. But yeah, deep in our heart, what and thank God all these people that committed what they did on October 7th, all gone. They wiped them out. Right? Probably still a few running around, but they wiped out most of them. Yeah. At the end of the day, let's say like this. At the end of the day, even if we would do what they did, yeah, even if you tie him up in a tire, light him on fire, chop his head off, cut him up into pieces, that's not going to bring the people died back. That's not going to answer what they did. I say, but they deserve the worst form of death. They deserve to die. Yeah, I agree. And even for those families, it's horrific things that they went through, and can't judge anybody unless you've been in their shoes. Very true. That's not going to bring back who died. Now, they may say, you did this to my kid. I want this done to you. Could say it. Yeah. Whether it should be said or not, it's a different issue. Someone asks, person has intention to do something, and every conflict makes it impossible. Right. Right. Someone calls the person actually liar. Is that actually true? No, you didn't do what you didn't do what you set out to do. Right. So what if the person gets killed? Will they be considered a liar? Again, let's say they try, this gets into a bigger question. I don't know if I want to go into, but a person sets out to do something, they're stopped from doing it for different reasons. They had intention to do it, they didn't do it. Do they get punished even though they didn't do it? And the answer is yes. Why? Because intention is everything. Over here. Right? You gotta say words of my heart don't mean anything. So we're not talking about that. They go out to do something, do a certain action. Terrorists, let's say. Yeah. But guess what? They get stopped. They don't injure anybody, but they get stopped. Now they're in jail. Are they all right? So they got caught. Very good. But are they guilty even though they didn't do what they set out to do? Sure. They're guilty by intention. That's for sure. What if a person had intention, to eat something kosher, and if they find out later it wasn't kosher? Now their intention was to eat something kosher, so they didn't transgress. And on that aspect. Or just the opposite. Someone intended to transgress, they ate kosher. Do they get punished for the thinking that they wanted something non-kosher, but it ended up being kosher? And these are good questions. These are very good questions. Yeah, intention is, can work in either direction. Possibly work in either direction, right? But again, if they didn't do it, they're not considered a liar, though. Why would they be considered a liar? They didn't do it, set out to do what they did. Right? They tried to do it, whatever. They're not called a liar, they didn't do it. Didn't necessarily do it. But you'll say, doesn't God know what their intention was? Oh, yeah. So are they going to be held liable for what their intention was? Yeah. They will be. 100%. Is the person a liar for not fulfilling the promise they want to fulfill? It's not considered being a liar, per se. It's wrong because they had bad intention, right? That's wrong. Right? It doesn't necessarily mean they're a liar, though. Right? Even though they set out to do that. Right? But it's bad. So you have to say, well, if it's bad, then they're guilty of lying. But they didn't lie. Right? Might be guilty by association of what they said or what they intended. Okay. But say that, say that they're a liar, people bring up, according to let's say American law, this or that, a person can't call themselves certain things if they don't have credentials. And if they do have credentials, yeah, titles don't mean a whole lot. People make that mistake all the can anyone be a rabbi? Sort of. Pass certain exams or whatever, okay. Sometimes, it's worth, not to say worth the paper it's written on. I'm not saying they didn't study hard or this and that, but I think, people give it somewhat a lot more credit than what it is. Okay, but they worked hard for it, they earned it. Very good. And what they, someone doesn't have that credential, but they have the power of influence and they do very good things or whatever. Okay, so maybe they shouldn't have the title. Yeah, maybe it shouldn't have, shouldn't have that title, but whatever. That's for another discussion. If it gets fulfilled by a direction not expected, yeah. So if it gets fulfilled, then they're a liar. Well, if it comes out after the fact, so yeah, then they would be considered a liar for that reason because it came out. 100% it came out. Someone wants to know when we're going to have the promised land. So I'll tell you, without being a prophet, I'll tell you within the next 200 years, next 240 years. That's when it's going to happen. How, and it'll happen before that. So when, where, what, how? If I knew that, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. Be world famous, to be a prophet. But that's going to happen. It's going to happen sooner than later. Right? Let me just say that we're very close right now. When it's going to be, nobody knows. And even if somebody does know, he ain't talking. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, I'm gonna stop here. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, you can find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Torah portion of the week, even though I'm very behind, Q&As, ethics for our fathers, Book of Leviticus. You want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman at gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN at gmail.com. Wish everyone a good beginning of the day, middle of the day,